All right. It's that time. It's time for Beyond Sight and Sound. Let's do this.
Hey boys and girls, we are going to talk about S&W shooters and prospectors. What is S&W shooters and prospectors?
We at S&W Shooters and Prospectors help people find treasure.
Did you say treasure?
Yes, treasure. Just listen to this amazing review from our happy customer, Jackie Sparrow.
Chocolate ship-shape and a pleasure to deal with. I was able to buy everything that I needed at prices that were shillings less than others. I found my 9 pieces of 8 in no time. Savvy?
I know you're asking yourself, why should I shop at S&W Shooter and Prospectors?
Chuck Smalley has over 45 years of metal detecting experience. He works with each customer one-on-one to customize their setup to match their skill level.
So if you always dreamt of being a pirate, contact Chuck at S&W Shooters and Prospectors and he'll dig up a great deal for you.
iPads and rum not included.
Caution. Please do not operate motor vehicles or power equipment while under the influence of this show. Listening to this show could cause side effects such as bouts of laughter, violent binges of cabin fever, and even dreams of silver and gold. Please be advised. Now that the fine print is out of the way, on with the show. All right, we're back, we're live, and I'm battling all the things that may pop up on the screen from time to time, but it looks like we're all right. It looks like we're okay. Everybody's dropping into the chat. Jason, Barb, Randy, Bills, Claudia, Alan, good grief, I can't even keep track. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say welcome aboard to everyone and get Chuck in here post haste. How's it going, Chuck?
Hey, it's going well. How's everybody out there tonight? We got a show for you tonight. This will be a good one. And if you got questions on the Manticore, this is the man to talk to. Hands down, one of the best. He and his wife are a very good friend of mine. Hi, Charlene. I know you're in the chat. Andy Sabisch is great to have on, and we're tickled to have him on tonight.
Oh, yeah. I had mentioned a few episodes back we needed to have him on to talk about the Manticore book.
Yes, and it worked out.
It just so happened that he messaged me the other day. I didn't get a chance to, and I'm like, hey, I'll
bring
take
it
it
on. Bring it on.
Exactly. I'm all ears for this. But before we get him in here, did you see the market?
No. Fill me.
Gold, according to AppMax anyway.
Yep.
$3,927.90 an ounce.
Whoa. That makes going to Alaska look pretty good right now.
Silver, $48.53 an ounce.
I'm going to tip that. I had,
Come on, 50.
I think I sent you a link on a story on, or not a story, but on gold prices and what they're thinking it may hit by the first of the year. Did you get that link I sent?
I did not. I
No.
still say they're off when they say 5K by the end of next year because we'll see it before that.
Well, if it keeps this route, and what it was on the India and China / buying season, and with the higher prices, it has not deterred sales. They're putting into it. They're looking ahead. So, if you're
Right.
sitting on gold, sit a little longer maybe. That's your
Maybe.
call. I don't give you any advice. Just hang in there. I think
It
you're
might
gonna
be
see.
interesting. It might be interesting to hear what Andy's got to say on that
Yeah,
too.
yeah. We'll pick his mind a little bit and have a little fun here also.
Yeah. So what do you say? We better get him in here too. He's
Yeah.
a pretty busy guy.
Get our
So
mentor in here, one of the best in the
yeah,
field.
let's see what we can learn and glean from all this information. Here we go. And there he is. Thank you for taking the time to come on tonight, Andy.
Well, glad to be here. Always enjoy the show here.
Nice.
Nice.
And I'm sure you probably heard Chuck and I talking before we had added you into the stream. What's your take on gold and silver?
Well, all you have to do is look at the news. I mean, that's why, honestly, I probably haven't bought a newspaper in 20 years. Too depressing to read the news. But, obviously,
I agree.
Yeah.
The world economy in general, I think, it's going to come down to hard metals. And obviously, you've seen what's happened to gold in the last year. Silver is following suit, a little bit slower to take off, but, $48 an ounce. I think for us, gold hitting 4,000 an ounce in the near term and higher down the road is a real possibility. And, for beach hunters, water hunters, park hunters that are able to hit a gold ring here and there, one ring will pay for your machine at this point.
Yes, it will.
Now silver.
You are right.
Silver, I'd be curious, what other people, Chuck, I know you deal with the clubs.
Yep.
I think the clubs are going to have a harder and harder time with hunts.
Exactly.
To make them work, you're looking at $200 for entry fee. And at $150 to $200 for a one-day event, people are going to balance that out to how much disposable income do I have?
Yep.
The travel cost going to be, and I think it's going to be harder to make a memorable hunt, and nobody should go to a hunt expecting to make 100% of their money back.
No.
But when you've got some hunts that are limited to what they can put in the ground, when you spend $150 plus travel and you come home with 10 silver dimes.
Yeah.
It's tough.
People get a little grumpy.
Well, I know back last spring, I told the club I would donate them 10 silver dollars for the hunt. I went to a friend of mine, has a shop in East Moline, Illinois, and I told him I'm looking for some silver dollars. He said, I got some for you. And he said, I'll tell you what, I got quite a few of them. He said, how many you need? I said, 10. He says, I'll tell you what. And then I bought some other stuff too. But he sold those to me at $27 a piece. You're not going to find that again. I was looking up at Cull Silver, kind of like this one. They're worn, but fully readable, and date and mint mark. I'll give you the story on that in a minute. Now, something like this, it was running $42 to $44. So one of the things that was brought up, we've been talking about this, some of the clubs may accept payment for entry in silver. So you never know.
But even that, I mean, it's going to get to the point where, you know, when you're looking at, you know, $5
Right.
or more face, you know, it's going to be tough to put that much into the ground to
Yes, it is.
You know,
yes, it is.
you've got, you know, prizes. So unless you get a lot of people donating prizes, it's going to be a challenge to make it justifiable for most people.
Yes, it is. And we'll see how that goes. And hunts are a great thing to have. They, you know, you have your meet and greets, and they get a network face to face instead of this what we're looking at right now, and talk and get out, have a good time together, and have a lunch and the meet and greet on the Friday night before. It's a social event too, so they're going to have to come up with ways maybe to entice people to come out, and either say, if you got silver dimes and quarters, we'll take that as payment or whatever, and hopefully they can get some donated materials to give out, and maybe a couple machines, things like that, to have them come out. It's going to be tough, Andy. You're right.
Well, and people may, you know, the clubs and attendees may want to reflect on, you know, I know people say, well, I don't want wheat pennies. I only want silver. And it may come down to, you know, wheat pennies or Indian head pennies, buffalo nickels, V nickels, you know, that you're going to have hundreds of coins, but they're not silver. And, you know, the camaraderie you get from going to the hunts is going to have to balance that out. And it may be Civil War relics. I mean, we're doing a hunt here in Pennsylvania on the 25th, and we kind of work with the Lehigh Valley Club. So they do the silver portion. So our hunt in the middle, we're calling it a history hunt. And I've got a couple of hundred bullets from the Civil War that came from a collection from the 1960s. So they're all relics from the Battle of Bull Run, first Battle of Bull Run. So there's history there. They're all going to go in the ground. And then I've got some Revolutionary War stuff. And then I've got, you know, other artifacts. And, you know, then we've got a really cool grand prize, which comes from the Grand Army of the Republic. Don't want to go into details because people find it when they get there. But so we're putting, you know, probably 500 or 600 targets in the ground. In addition to, you know, there'll be wheat pennies. There'll be little mini caches. We get these film canisters, and I'll put, you know, coins in there and bury these mini caches. But that's what we do, because that way people are going to go out there and everybody finds stuff. Not just it goes quiet in 10 minutes because you only put, you know, 100 silver coins in the ground.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Our club has a dollar hunt, and the silver dollars that I had went into the dollar hunt, and then they had some various coins, but they put out Sacagawea dollars, Ikes, and they put out Morgans. They put out some peace dollars and mixture of other stuff, a few other coins scattered around to slow them down, and that makes for a nice hunt too. So, you know, it's going to take some creativity to continue to bring them out.
You know, I think the other problem, some of the hunts that we've been to, you know, I understand that dealers are you know, falling by the wayside, and, you know, mail order is where a lot of the sales are going. Sometimes, you know, the dealers are the ones that provide a lot of donations to the clubs. And, you know, we support a couple of clubs, but, you know, we probably get 100 clubs looking for, you know, for donations, and we try to help as many as we can. But what we're seeing on some of the clubs that want to provide prizes, just a suggestion, going to the dollar store or going to Harbor Freight. Those are not the kind of prizes most people want to win. I mean, when you go there and you win a screwdriver, I mean, it's an interesting prize, but they need to stay metal detecting, treasure hunting. It may be Civil War stuff. It may be a digging tool, but a screwdriver or a crescent wrench, it's a prize.
Not going to cut it.
No, not going to. You are right. One thing I follow and I kind of like are, I don't know if you do anything with them or not, are goldbacks. And they start at a half and go all the way up to 100 in value. And right now, 7 states are on board and Arizona's coming on board. They're making them legal tender. So that may be something, because half and dollar and $2 ones are affordable. And they're still going up. They go up with the gold. And with all that being said, that's something else that they can kind of slide a few of them in. There's a little gold in the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in like they find a token on the field, bring it back, redeem it for a gold back.
Even they make those tiny Panda 1 grams.
But they've
And
gotten expensive too there, Chuck. I mean, you remember the 2 pesos that you used to get at a lot of the hunts?
Yep.
They're not cheap anymore either. I mean,
no, right now I just priced them today, Andy. They're $2.47 a piece.
Yeah, and that's no decimal point in that, right?
No.
Yeah, so that's price.
No, you're right. So, you know, we're going to have to get pretty
creative
on these hunts and bring in people that they know and see and want to be around and talk to and learn from, such as you and Charlene and others. That helps for the meet and greet, and they have fun and things like that. But yeah, all our major companies that manufacture detectors are online, and you can order direct from 75% of them right now, and they offer specials that the small dealer can't offer. So they're struggling to stay alive.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I see, speaking of gold and silver, you know, for people that are fortunate enough to find a few gold rings, if that's their way that they can upgrade to, say, a Manticore, because we know of a few people that have, that's a good way to do it. And
I just had one do that too, actually, now.
Yeah, and I see that Emery's in the chat. He might have been fortunate enough to get one of his finds in the new Manticore book that I believe comes out this coming week, Andy.
Yeah, it's currently in binding. You know, again, it's more information that I need to know about printing process, but it's supposed to ship this Friday.
Nice. And I know there have been plenty of people, myself included, looking forward to that book finally showing up, because you do a phenomenal job on your books.
Yes, he does.
You know, as I mentioned to Chuck, and again, I'll voice this an apology. I did that previously on DA, but this book probably should have been out a year ago. Sometimes life gets in the way of life, and you know, lost my father. My wife lost.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
and there were just, you know, it's just the hits just kept on coming, and the time just got away from me. So, you know, I finally said, you know, I'm going to use it. This is my therapy. I'm going to put myself back into it. I'm going to get the book out. You know, people had asked about the Deus 2, and, you know, this should be about detectors in general. So the Deus 2 is another great machine. Deus XP has kind of fallen into the trap that Nokta started, and that is the update of the day or update of the month.
Yeah, multiple updates, which makes it very difficult, next to impossible, to write a book.
Exactly. And, you know, with the Legend, they had 11 updates. I finally got them to swear on a Bible that they were done with the updates. I put the book out, and lo and behold, a month later, the update started again. So, you know, XP, you know, I thought we were done, version 2.0. And then 3.0 comes out, and then 3.01 and 3.02 and 3.03. And I finally said, you know what? I can't do this, because I don't want to put a book out and people buy it, and then a month later, 2 more updates came out. And that's
the information's outdated.
Exactly. In MindLab, you know, their approach is really what it should be, and that is they put a ton of time, a ton of effort, and a ton of R&D into these detectors. And when they release them, unless there's a fatal flaw, buy it or don't buy it. It doesn't matter to them. That's their machine. The other companies seem to listen to everybody on social media that says, we need this feature, we need that feature. Well, we can add that. You make the menus so convoluted that it's almost impossible to navigate through without a manual.
Right.
Right.
The Manticore has had one update. And other than that, the machine works the way they intended it to. So
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to give
And that one update, I think, really helped with it.
Yep.
No, it did.
Well, I took it up to Alaska and put it to work, and I got a nice 8 gram and a 5 gram nugget. And 8 and 5 gram nuggets before didn't mean as much, but now we've got 13 grams at $120 a gram. That pretty much paid for my Manticore. And you get a good gold ring, just like you said, or one of our customers got a very heavy gold chain, and he didn't sell that. He kept that one because it's 18 karat gold. And he was tickled to death, and I can't remember how many grams that was. That was a lot, but yeah, man, he got that, I believe, with his. Did you get it with a Deus or did you hit it with a Legend, Randy?
I can't remember because he's been hitting rings and jewelry and such, silk coins, stuff like that with both. He's had a heck of a year. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're right. It means something now when you go out and you dig up a ring or gold nugget, you're going to pay for something. It's heavy gold chains. That's pretty cool.
Well, and again, I mean, as people start to think about getting rid of their gold or scrapping it out, obviously, if you can find somebody to buy it as a piece, that's great.
Right.
I don't want to talk down coin shops or pawn shops or these stop by the local hotel once a month and we'll buy your gold, because they all have to make they all have to make money, but the book has got some references in it. It lists about a dozen different refinery sources. I use one, and they pay 95% a spot. So if I scrap anything, it's easy to figure out what it's worth. You take the weight, divide by 14 or 18 karat, and multiply by the spot off of Kitco, and they send you a check within 10 days. So if you're going to sell your gold, I've been to pawn shops, and they're typically in the 50 to 60% range. So before you give away 30% of your gold, do a little research and go directly to the refinery. That's my recommendation.
Yep, and we've been talking about that a lot. Yeah, and I use Midwest Refineries.
That's who I use.
Yep. And if you got good stuff, they treat you well. They treat you quickly.
Yeah.
So Michigan, but they're the best out there as far as I'm concerned.
They've been in business almost 50 years, so they got to be doing something right.
Yes, sir.
So
right.
Yes,
Agreed.
So I mean, I guess everybody's got purpose. Tonight we're talking about the book again. We're finally getting the book out. One of the things that sets my books apart is I try to get input from people around the world, because I can write a book. This is how Andy Sabisch runs his Manticore in Pennsylvania, and it doesn't do anything for Chuck, or it doesn't do anything for Josh, or it doesn't do anything for Bill over in California, or somebody in the UK. So I reach out to people that are well respected. I mean, Neil Jones, for example, in the UK, the guy's been involved with MindLab pretty much since day one.
Yes.
And I mean, he knows what he's doing, and he shares his settings. But the key thing with my book is not just here's some settings, load them in and see what happens. Here's the settings, here's why the changes were made, and here's some changes you may need to make to those if it's not working the same way it should. And, that's kind of what sets it apart. There's a chapter on coin hunting, both U.S. and non-U.S. hunting. And, if you think about it, I mean, non-U.S. hunting, a lot of the coins that are now, I mean, Canada's a good example. They've got iron cores in them. So,
yeah, very good point.
You take a quarter, well, I can tell you that's, what it's going to read in the U.S. Well, you go to Canada and suddenly you got to redo your whole discrimination and the ferrous limits to be able to pick up these coins that have got a ferrous core. And Europe's the same way. A lot of those coins are aluminum. Well, here, I don't want to dig aluminum from coin hunting. Well, over there, the high dollar coins are the ones that are reading where you would normally think they're trash.
Yeah, you can't take your U.S. coin hunting skill set and go to the UK and expect to be successful.
Right.
No, I mean, if you're hunting fields or pastures, which a lot of us, when we go there, we do, if it's not iron, you dig it. I mean, because it could be anything.
Right.
I mean, one of the best finds I think on my last trip was a hammered coin, but it read so low. I mean, I was almost going to give it pass it up. And it turned out to be what they call a contemporary forgery. So it was a hammered coin that was silver washed 1,000 years ago. And they did, so that's actually worth more than the same coin would have been if it was a legitimate coin. So somebody had faked it, silver washed it to pass it off, and that's why it read so low.
Cool.
So,
yeah, and
that's an old counterfeit.
Yep.
Andy and I have discussed this, and just as he opened up with it, what's good here for me isn't good for you 1,000 miles away, and you got to learn to be able to adjust for the conditions you're in. And that's part of the book. He's teaching you how to make those adjustments and ID the area you're in and conform to it.
Yeah. These are the features the machine has. This is what you can do with these features. This is why. This is why they work the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot. I mean, the internet's a great tool, but everything on the internet isn't true. And
yeah, there's a lot of misinformation.
Yes,
a lot of bad information. So, one thing in the book, and what I do is I've got a chapter, common Manticore questions, and I look through forums going back a year and a half, 2 years, and what are the kind of questions people ask? And one of them is, "Hey, my machine chatters. What's wrong with it?" And then you see 100 answers, and not one of them asks basic questions. Does it chatter all the time? Is it only when you're sweeping? Is it when you're holding the coil stationary? Because those two questions will drive the answer. If it chatters only when you sweep it across the ground, it has to be caused by the ground. And there's some things you can do to fix that. If it chatters when you're holding the coil in the air, then it has nothing to do with, well, you need to, ground balance. There's nothing to do with it. So the book's got these little flow charts, and it shows, does it chatter when they're holding it or when it's sweeping? And if the answer is sweeping, then here's the things you do in this order, how to fix it. So, that's what we try to do. Look at what are some of the questions people ask. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of bad answers come back. And ranging to, if you change coils, you've got to do a factory reset. Why? The whole point is they're plug and play. You just drop a shaft, put the new one in, connect the coil, and you're off and running. But yet people swear you've got to do a factory reset when you swap coils.
I've heard that, and I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
And then they
argue. They do it anyway.
Right. Yeah, then they want to argue about it.
Yep. So,
that's
the purpose of the book. The first, chapter, and it's probably 30, 35 pages, it goes through each of the controls and really what it does, not what the internet says it does. And my favorite thing is ground balance. So you'll see people post, I've got an in with the factory. I've talked with the engineers. Well, I mean, I've talked to the engineers too, and face to face, and they say never ground balance the machine.
Mm-mm.
Well, if that's the case, then why did MindLab put that on as a function that you could do? If it's preset at 0 and you never have to change it, then why would they even make that as an adjustment? In my area here, we used to heat with coal. And if I go out in the back area where they used to dump the coal cinders, I typically ground balance in the 45 to 60 range. So if 45 to 60 is the right range where it thinks it needs to be, and the preset's at 0, why do people think that 0 is the right answer?
Exactly. It's not always the right answer, just like we said. The settings that work for Joe down the road may not work for the same guy 2 states away.
Yep.
And
I've
then
seen ground conditions change in as little as 20 feet.
there you go. And then you got auto track.
Yep.
And I've used auto track just to see what it did in places like Arizona and Alaska. I haven't had the Manticore to see what it does in Virginia in the hot soil, but in Alaska this year using it in auto track, most of the time I quick hit and see what the balance showed. It wasn't much more than 6 to 10. Now, down in Arizona, I had a quick shot at it down there. It was running in the 40s.
I was going to say higher mineralization.
You got it. Here, it runs 1 to 2. I don't even mess with it. We got sand, which is mineralization, but it's benign. There's no iron.
Yeah, benign ground.
But I mean, if you're prospecting, it's a good example. So when you're prospecting, you're typically listening to that threshold. You're running Goldfield, and you're running with the depth audio. So you want to hear that threshold where it'll give you a slight increase in threshold. Is all you're not going to get a booming signal. If your ground balance is off, you'll never hear that change in the threshold because you're not tracking to the ground correctly.
Right.
Exactly.
So
that's right.
Now, I've got a friend of mine in Virginia. You know, he's actually in the book, Hugh Campbell, and you know, he hunts the area down around Culpeper. I mean, the infamous red clay. You know, does it go as deep as a GPX? Obviously not. I mean, we're talking apples and oranges here. You know, does it go as deep as an Axiom? Again, apples and oranges, PI machine. But it clearly is able to handle the ground better than even the Equinox series did, and better than most of the other VLF simultaneous multi-frequency machines, whether it's from XP, Nocta, or even the new Garrett. But you know, XP, the Deus 2 and the Manticore handle that ground better than most VLF machines have been able to in the past.
interesting. Have you ever, I have a question for you, Andy. Have you ever tried to hunt gold nuggets with the Deus?
I did with the Deus 1. I haven't with the Deus 2. So with the Deus 1, with the higher frequency coil, with the elliptical coil, that's what I used. I haven't had a chance to use it with the Deus 2 yet.
Okay.
Unless you're going to take me to Alaska next time with you.
Well, you want to come, we'll talk about her. Be fun. We've had several guys, they bring a Deus. They don't have a high frequency coil. And I tell them, you know, I'm sorry, but I've never been able to make the Deus work well here for gold in Alaska. It's just in that area we're in, the green hot rocks by the thousands, and things tend to mask a lot for the Deus, not the Mind Labs, but the Deus.
The Deus 1 or the Deus 2?
2.
The 2, okay.
And a Deus 1 failed miserably twice also. And I'd work with them, and I just couldn't get anything out of them. And in fact, to the point that they were borrowing Mind Labs to go out and find their gold.
Well, you know, again, it goes back to jack of all trades and a master of none. I mean, I'm not saying that the Manticore, the Deus 2 is not a master in certain areas. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I'm
Deus
just
2,
saying this is what we found, but
yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, the Deus 2, for example, you can dive to 60 feet with it. So if I'm a diver, obviously, I can watch how deep I go with the Manticore.
right.
And even that, I know with my Equinox, they said, 15 feet. I pushed it to 20 and it didn't leak. I didn't want to tell Minelab if it did. But, with a Deus 2, I can go to 60 feet. So, if I'm diving underneath dive platforms or things like that,
Sure.
I'd like to be able to not have to worry about it. Keep looking at my depth gauge and say, ooh, I'm getting close to that 16-foot limit.
Right.
But, for example, for coin hunting, the Manticore has got a much better spread, at least for the U.S. coins, than a Deus does, because for a Deus, everything is crammed up in those last couple numbers. And if you look at the version 3.x, whichever version you want to look at, with these high frequency coils that they've come up with, all the coins, with the exception of nickels, read 98 or 99.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've crammed everything into this really tiny window. Whereas the Manticore, I can tell you if it's a dime, a nickel, a dime, a penny, a zinc penny, copper penny, or silver. And, the XP doesn't have that because they've jammed everything together.
Okay. Well, Alan Landau in the chat, he said, yeah, the D2 didn't work for him. He was with me up there, and we put him on a mine lab, and he found gold, but that's one of them. And I just wondered. I know the Manticore finds it because I was finding gold with it, and the gold up there, the variance in its makeup all over the world, it showed pretty true right on the line. Numbers varied anywhere from, I had one small piece that was like a 6 all the way up to 8 grams that pushed up into 22, 23. I mean, it seems size really matters there. The bigger that you get, the higher the reading you get. We had a guy get a 42 gram one, and it read, I think he said right near 60, 58 to 60, and laid right on the line.
What's the carat purity of the stuff you're pulling at it now?
We're getting 85 to 88%, so it's putting it at 20 carat to 21, maybe 22.
I know, like down in Georgia, when I used to live there, and we used to hunt gold there. I mean, the gold there was pushing 95.
Yes,
much pure.
Nice.
Some of the purest gold in America come out of Georgia and Wyoming.
Well, I got a question. So, which coil do you use? I mean, people have asked me. So, for me, I'll tell you honestly, I went through. This is my third Manticore. First one I got, I tried it, didn't click. I didn't like it, got rid of it. A couple friends of mine said you need to try the Manticore again. I said, all right, I'll buy it again. Got another one, took it out, stayed with it for about a month. I said, I don't like it, sold it. So I got the third one. I had a friend of mine call me, he says, look, you got to do it, but you got to put the small coil on it. All right, well, I'll try it. So I bought it and I put the 9-inch coil on it. And that, to me, that made a huge difference. It's lighter, the balance is good, but most of the hunting I do that's, land hunting, I'm hunting sites that are trashy. I mean, super trashy. Because at this point, I mean, people aren't losing silver coins anymore. We're lucky if they lose any coins. But the good stuff is hidden in and amongst the trash. So
and you need the separation.
That's it. And the 9-inch coil does better than the 11-inch coil in terms of separation.
Yes, it does.
What's interesting, Chuck, go back 30 years, 20 years. What size coil did White's and Garrett and Fisher and Bounty Hunter, the original Bounty Hunter, what size coil did they all come with? Basic, standard.
Yep, 6 and 8-inch coils.
6 and 8-inch. They weren't big.
And if you wanted to go big, you bought an optional 10 or 11-inch, 10 and a half inch coil. Well, now the manufacturers are saying we want to go deeper, deeper, deeper. Well, what they do is they try to squeeze more depth out of a bigger coil. So they all go with 11. So MineLab started with the 11 on the CTX and on the E-Track. Then everybody started copying the 11. And then Nokta comes up with this 11 by 13 coil. And even on the Manticore, Coiltech's got an 18-inch coil. Now, I've talked to people over in the UK that have tried it, and they say they don't see a huge difference in depth, but the coil itself weighs more than the machine and the shaft does. Yeah, it weighs almost 2.8 pounds, the coil.
Look like
Wow.
Sapphire, man.
Now, my goal is to get rid of weight, not to add more weight back onto it. So, unless you're hunting, miles and miles of ocean beaches or a field that's been tilled and you've only got a month to hunt it, I'm not sure what an 18-inch coil would buy you. So,
I have guys that use that charcoal grill coil. That's what I call them. You want the charcoal grill? I'll get it for you. And some have proven to me that they do get some amazing depth, but I tend to find more than they do.
But what separation are they getting? If you're looking at
Right.
the 15-inch MineLab, the M15,
Right.
it's like you said, a charcoal grill. You unless you're in an area where targets are few and far between. My backyard, I've been hunting that thing since we moved in. It dates back to the 1800s, but it was a blacksmith shop. So what do you think's in the ground? Iron. And I'm still pulling stuff out, even though it's only a quarter of an acre in-town lot.
Okay.
But it's just littered with trash. To me, the 9-inch coil gives me what I'm looking for. The Deus is the same way. When I use my Deus, I use a 9-inch coil.
Well, and it's kind of proper tool for the proper task, and especially in an environment like what you're hunting in your backyard, you can't work that ground effectively with a 15-inch coil.
No.
Well, I could go through it and say, well, there's nothing here because the iron has masked all the good stuff in and amongst the iron.
Right.
Right.
And we tell people many times on the show, sometimes it's not necessarily a game of depth, it's a game of separation.
Scott Ballard, who runs Crawford's Detectors over in the UK, I've got a quote from him in the book, and he says, always sacrifice depth over performance. And, that really holds true. So that's with any machine. Raw depth is not always the answer. Sometimes, I'll bet you in the last year or two, 80% of my really good targets have been 8 inches or less. So people like, I want to dig 16 inches on a mini ball, or, I'll dig 12 inches on a dime. Well, I don't really find that that's what you're going to find. If you go into these trashy areas, especially in popular parks that people tend to ignore those areas, stuff's not that deep.
Well,
yeah, if the machine can't see it, you can't dig the dime at 12 inches.
No,
exactly.
The 30-30, I switched over to the small coil on it.
Mm-hmm.
Went back over to an area park, trash. And that thing, it was like hunting that spot fresh again for a long time, because the first thing I went down along a playground area, it's an old park, dates back into the late 1860s, early 1870s, big park. And I knew the trashy areas because I was just like everybody else. You kind of avoided that. You'd work in until it got so bad you couldn't work. And then I put that small coil on the 30-30 and I started hammering stuff up. Just slow down because you have to with that small coil. Yep, and it was like, oh my God, there's no weight. I was getting barbers. I was getting seededs. I found a half dime. I found more rings simply because of the better separation of the size of the coil, because the 30-30 is not known to be the fastest microprocessor.
Exactly. I honestly, and people still There's a well-known, let's call him well-known social media expert that says that MindLab is at fault that they haven't put out an update on the 3030. And the last time I checked, that came out 13 years ago. So I'm not sure you're going to see an update on the 3030, but
No.
it's
No.
still a powerful detector.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
I mean, the 3030 is still a viable option, but like you said, it came out how many years ago? I think our
2012.
chance of seeing an update
Yeah.
are well behind us.
And,
They've
you know,
got
they
better
still,
things to spend their time on.
if you talk to MindLab, they still tout that as the flagship of the fleet.
And I still use mine. I mean, people see
I do
me
too.
and I still use it. It's a heck of a detector. Once you learn it and have it dialed in,
Yep.
it's, it is heavy. And, the balance is one thing. I mean, I still remember when they first released it, I was down at Calico when they had at that point, the VP for MindLab, and he stood up there and he said, it may weigh 5.5 pounds, but the longer you swing it, the less it weighs. And we're all looking at each other like, how's that work?
There you go. They did an ergonomics thing on it,
Yeah.
and the VP, it's probably Peter Charlesworth. I did well with that machine. That machine opened up a lot of new stuff,
Yep.
and it's still a great machine. But I think they were hoping to take and with the Manticore, add some of the features in, because not everybody's enamored with all the features on the 3030, the original GPS and all that kind of stuff, which is great, especially if you're archaeologist. You can mark stuff very well with it. You didn't need that. Most detectorists didn't want that. And so I think they were trying to, with the Manticore, are trying to adjust to, here's the best of both worlds. You got maybe what the 900 is in there, and then we've taken the 2D system and evolved it into this. So you've got just about a 3030, but not all of it.
Well, I mean, the good thing about the Manticore is, MindLab, while they use testers, they don't rely on social media testers, which unfortunately a lot of it comes down to I've got a YouTube channel and I bought a metal detector and I've got a cell phone. Now I'm a social media expert. And
There you go.
That's at times where the bad information comes from. So MindLab, they've got a very extensive in-house testing facility. And then they rely on a select group of people that they can trust that are going to tell them, hey, this is how it works and doesn't work. And they're not going to try to sugarcoat it. And I think that's a lot of the problem with some of the other manufacturers. That's why there's so many updates. And Josh, I know you're into the technology end of things, but on a digital platform, the problem is you can add things easily. The problem is when you add that 30 lines or 300 lines of code, what did it inadvertently change at the beginning that you didn't think it touched? So unless you go back and test A to Z completely with the new function to see if anything else changed, you don't know. And then they say,
to do it properly, now all of your R&D basically starts over from the beginning to make sure that nothing is changed.
Then the next update has to come out to fix the previous problem, but that creates a third problem. So I think that's why, Nokta fell into that trap where they kept adding feature after feature after feature instead of saying, here's the legend, take it or leave it.
It's the whole swallow the spider to get the fly. Yeah. Basically, they keep going and going and going.
Right. And MindLab, even on the CTX 3030, they've had 2 updates, and they were early on in the game. First one was the seawater, which was a train wreck when it first came out. So they had to come up with a feature, the seawater mode. And then the third one was they added the Chinese language. I mean, or the second one, rather. That's all they've added to the 3030 in 13 years. But if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Right. It's a good machine.
And then, so the Manticore, what they did is they put a lot of time and effort, probably close to 2.5 years up front before it was released, getting all the settings as close as they could to be all purpose. So you've got 10 settings. You've got 5 all-terrain,
Excuse me.
you got 4 beach, and you got Goldfield. And they laid the menu out. The menu to me is, I mean, you couldn't ask for an easier to navigate menu. I mean, it's paper white,
it's
easy
pretty
to read.
straightforward.
Right, and it's simple to read. You know, again, I haven't played with the Legend 2. The Legend 2 is not really out yet. They're still fine tuning it. But when they put the posts up of what the screen looks like with all the menu options,
Mm-hmm.
a friend of mine in California called me up. He says, "Did you see the new Legend 2?" I said, "Well, I saw the screen. I haven't seen it yet." He goes, "It looks like the inside of an Egyptian tomb."
I have not seen any of it yet. I've talked with them about it, and that's about it. And they were out here this last summer, and they were all excited about it coming out. And far as I know, there's only one working model in the U.S., and that was this week. And Jason has it. That's what I was told.
You know, the one thing with everybody coming up with new machines, I mean, here's the bottom line, and I don't want to be a killjoy when it comes to you know, the manufacturers or people buying a new detector. The bottom line is, if you learn your machine, buying a new machine every 3 months, every time somebody comes up with a new machine, is not going to suddenly create old fields new again. As soon as a new machine comes out, you'll see people say, "I took it to a pounded, worked out 20-acre park." Okay, well, right away there, I realize there's no 20-acre worked out park. My quarter-acre backyard isn't worked out, and I've hunted it for, you know, over a year now. You don't see a lot of people saying, "I took machine X out to this park and I marked 20 signals, and I went back with my old machine, and 10 of those signals I wouldn't have found."
Right.
That'll tell you. Now, people look at me like they steer clear of me in the park when I'm doing testing, because I'll have 3 or 4 detectors out with me. And, you know, I'm marking stuff, and I've got flags and poker chips, and they're looking at me like, "I'm not even going near this guy." And what I'll do is I'll take a 20 by 20 area, and I'll mark it. And then I'll go back with each of the other machines and say, did the new machine find a target or give me a different signal that the other machine didn't? That's the only way you can compare machine A to compare to machine B, not dig it up. I mean, I'll go to my neighbor's yard, and I found a silver quarter. Well, would I have found that with my other machine? I don't know. I dug it up.
Right.
I have gotten my wife talked to the neighbor, and she's gotten me permission to go over there. And the neighbor will come out there, and she'll see poker chips in her yard, and she doesn't even ask. She doesn't even want to know. But you know,
I've done the same thing.
We've got a question in the chat, Andy. They want to know if the 8-inch Manticore coil is just as effective as the 9-inch, or does the 9-inch outperform the 8-inch somehow?
You know, I've talked to people that have got both, and the 9-inch coil seems to be the coil that they keep on versus switching back and forth.
You got
the
it.
8-inch coil was out first, and then the 9-inch coil came out. If you look at the design of the two, the 9-inch coil, and again, I should get a copy of the book. It's sitting over here. The 9-inch coil is actually lighter than the 8-inch coil because of the webbing is different. Okay. You know, and it's a round coil versus the 8-inch coil is kind of an elliptical kind of looking coil. But it is a little bit heavier. A lot of the guys that know that water hunt, they use a 9-inch coil. You know, it provides it's a lot thinner than the 8-inch coil, and the webbing design is different. So if you've got an 8-inch coil, I'm not saying you got to get rid of that and get a 9-inch coil, because the 8-inch coil does extremely well in trash, and that's kind of why you buy it. But you know, if you're a water hunter, you may want to look at the 9-inch coil. It does give less drag. I know I talked to somebody that bought the 15-inch coil to go in the water, and they think they got 3 water hunts out of it until it snapped the lower shaft. You know, drag on that. So, you know, if you're a water hunter, the drag on a coil makes a big difference in terms of how long you stay in the water and how long it holds up.
Yeah, 15-inch coil just seems much too big to be taken into the water. That's too much resistance and drag.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
hopefully that answers his question.
Yeah.
And I've seen I think Dennis actually had told him too that he feels like the 9-inch does
The 9-inch. I
a little
have the
better
8
job.
and the 9, and now the 9 pretty much stays on my machine.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I put the 11-inch coil back on. Most of my hunting now, again, if I get out and now that the colder weather's coming and the critters are less prevalent, I'm not a snake guy, and to me, they're all the same. I don't want to see them, and so now that the colder weather is here, I think it's I may go with the 11-inch coil if I'm relic hunting out in the woods. But
There you go. So
We got a few people in the chat that they can sympathize with that.
oh yeah. And Emery, by the way, buddy, I'll get you a 9-inch coming. And that's another thing. The 9-inch coils have been kind of at a premium. They've been hard to get from time to time.
Well, and there's a
Everybody
reason.
likes them.
Yep.
That's it. Yep.
That's it. So see if I can get a few more.
The Coiltech's only Manticore offering is the 18-inch coil.
Yep.
I would have thought, because I've got a 5x9. Is it the 5x9 for the CTX 3030? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That was, I really enjoyed that coil from them. So I'm surprised they haven't come
That
up with
was a good coil for the CTX.
I find the Coiltech coils to be very good. I find them to be heavier for size. In other words, if you've got a similar size stock coil to their coil, they build them heavier. And I think that's because they're in Australia, because everything over there seems to be rocky, but very effective and a bit pricier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But good
absolutely.
coils. They do real well with it.
Yeah, it's Ohio relic hunter. Why does it always have to be snakes? I ought to say I should find a picture and share it. We were down there outside of Vicksburg. We had some property that actually bordered the national park, and it was 25 degrees in the morning, and by 10 o'clock it was 45 degrees. So we're out there in the woods, and there's 4 of us that were out there relic hunting, and suddenly one of the guys was with us, he comes over to the radio. He says, "Hey, come over here." I said, "What? No, just come over here, but watch your feet." I'm like, "What?" So we come walking back over, and he's standing there. He says, "Go look." I'm looking over. I'm like, "Looking at what?" He goes, "No, look over there next to that stick." Oh shit! It was a canebrake rattlesnake curled up in the sun.
Oh,
Now,
boy.
I would have thought that, and we walked right past it. Well, then he goes, "Well, it's as cold as it is." He said, "You can probably go up there and it won't even bother you." I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take your word for that.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to test that theory.
No, that's not a test pattern.
It was about a 5-foot snake curled up in this. We just walked right, never saw it. It blended right in.
Wow.
And Ohio relic hunters should know sometimes it's not always snakes. I mean, we've had Andy on the show before, and it's been gators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if somebody ever wants to see something interesting, see Mississippi. If you ever watch those gator hunting shows on TV in Louisiana, where they put the chicken on the rope and then they come back the next day and then they fish it up out of the water. Yep. Mississippi doesn't allow you to do that. Mississippi, you've got to hook it with a treble hook, and you fight it. So these guys, what they do is they'll go out at night and they use a flashlight and they look for how far apart the eyes are to look for the big alligator.
Okay.
And they take a treble hook and this big grappling hook looking thing, and they hook it and they tire this alligator out and then they bring it to shore. But it's at night, and it'll drag the one guy. It dragged his boat around for 3 hours in the dark.
Oh.
And
yeah, that doesn't sound like a real wise idea.
Do a Google search for 2025 Mississippi alligator record, and you'll see that there's 6 guys holding this alligator up. It's 800 and something pounds that they caught at 3 o'clock in the morning. So this friend of mine down there, he keeps saying, "Hey, you need to go out with us." I'm like, "What are you, nuts? I'm going out in a 15-foot
Right.
boat,
No, I don't.
and this thing's 12 feet long, and I'm going to hook this thing, and it's going to drag me around in the dark." Nah, I don't think so.
No.
No,
No,
it
it's just
doesn't sound like the best way to spend your time.
it's like the catfishermen that reach up holes in the
Oh.
bank, and they're called hogging,
Yeah.
and pull the catfish out. My wife's family, her brothers do that. And they're going, "Come on, try it." Nope. I'll tell you what, I'll get the one turtle that backed in, the snapper, and lose a finger, or I'll grab a muskrat who grabs me back. I'll drag the fish around in a bag. You go ahead and reach in the holes and grab things. Not me.
They sell catfish fillets at the grocery store. I'll get it there.
Right. You ain't got to work that hard.
And riding out a gator in a 12-foot boat, Andy, I'm right there with you. It's called probably 223 or something like that. Whack it.
Yeah,
Shoot the guy.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's if I've got something that's dragging my boat around in the dark for 3 hours, I'm throwing the rope in. I'm out. I'm done. I'm out of there.
And I'm surprised Emery is still in our chat tonight. He doesn't like snakes. He's in the same world you are. Snakes are useless.
Oh, I see. Ohio Relic Hunter found the article. Clarion Ledger. Yeah.
There you go.
So did you see the picture of what that alligator looks like?
I'm sure he looked at the picture.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah,
But
2025 will state alligator record be broken. Yeah, it's you realize that's in the water. We were down there.
it's huge, he
in
says.
Jackson, and there's a public beach. So we went over there, and I was trying to find out if I could metal detect it. So we were standing there. You know, there's a dock, and there's a boat tie up there, and as I'm standing there, a ranger comes walking down. I said, "Hey, can I metal detect in the water here?" He goes, "Yeah, alligators don't bother you." I'm like, "What?" He goes, No. He said, last night we had an alligator that came into the swimming area and actually rubbed up against a swimmer and, scuffed his leg. And he walks away. And I'm saying to my wife, I'm like, "Charlene, this guy's pulling my leg, And she's got her phone out. And she says, No, here it is. And there actually was an alligator that came into the swimming area. Because what people do is they'll feed these idiots, and they bring them into the swimming area. So when they say once that happens, they have to euthanize them. They have to kill them. But it had actually, he says, "Yeah, it was right underneath the dock you're standing on. It came out in the swimming area." I thought he was kidding. I'm like, "Well, I don't think I'm going in the water today."
Yeah. And they say they did see the picture. It was huge, and
he calls it a living
I'll
dinosaur.
stick to getting mine from the restaurant.
Yep.
There you go. He calls it a living dinosaur.
Yeah, imagine hooking that thing in the middle of the night and in a 13, 15-foot boat. Nope.
Yeah, you can't see where that thing's dragging you. It could punch a hole in your hull if you don't watch it.
There's a fine line in some of this stuff that we do, that people do. Maybe not you and I going after gators, Andy, but there's a fine line between sporting and stupidity. And it gets to the point.
Yeah, my brother always says you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Exactly.
Yep. I mean, no. Closest thing now. I've had blackened alligator. That's pretty good stuff. That's about as close as I'm going to get.
No, 850 pounds would fill your freezer up.
Oh man, that's a big gator. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll bet you ain't going to go chasing it.
Nope.
No, not in deep south. Them boys down there are nuts.
Right. Yeah. I'll leave that to them guys.
Yep. That's fine.
Definitely.
Well, as far as the Manticore book goes, I mean, it's at the printers. We should have it by the end of the week. So, a couple of distributors have got them coming in. Your dealers should be getting them as well. We do have them. If you go to sabishbooks.com, you can get a copy there. We'll make sure we get them out. We try to ship everything priority mail. So Chuck, I'll make sure you get yours. Josh, will make sure you get yours.
Well, I'll talk
Nice.
to Charlene. I'll get more than just one. I'll order some, and we'll chat tomorrow. But nice, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all you do, Andy. You're very good at what you do. We've had some fun together, and back in the day when the 3030 was new in the classes, we had fun doing that.
Yep. No, we've had some people ask about a Manticore / AS2 boot camp in Gettysburg. We've got some property there that not a lot of time before the property goes away. So we're going to discuss that. My wife and I were discussing maybe doing a class coming up there in Gettysburg, give people a chance to find a piece of
history,
American history.
That'd be cool, Andy.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. And I know you're always so busy, but before we let you go, as well as many of the rest of us that use Manticore, you can take that thing out of the box and you can make finds with it. It's going to work just fine. But what is the biggest mistake that you've heard people doing right out of the box?
Good question.
Well, honestly, the biggest thing right out of the box is not doing what you just said and using it right out of the box. I mean, there's so many of these, wacky named programs out there that, you got to use the CoinFinder Zinger 5000 program to find things. And, the big thing with the book is once you understand the functions, I can look at the programs that people post and say, this will work, or hey, I might want to try this, or oh my God, this won't work at all. And that goes back to the 3030. I mean, people we had a guy at one of our boot camps, and he really wanted my programs. And I said, we'll go ahead and load that for you at the break. And he said, I've got over 100 programs that I've downloaded off the web. I'm like, what? 100 programs? You got to realize every time you load one of these programs, you're back at ground zero.
Uh-huh.
So, I've made a few tweaks to my Manticore that I don't change. I wish there was the ability to, copy a discrimination pattern over to a different location or save or rename programs. But the bottom line is for most of my hunting, I've got 2 or 3 that I can toggle between, and that's all I need. Some of the other things that people, I think that they make a mistake is they overrange the machine. You've got that red zone, once you hit 30 on sensitivity, you can jack that thing up and I can get an air test 1/4 at 2.5 feet. Is it realistic? Can you use it in the ground? I've never found an area where you can. So
right.
Most of my time, and other people I've talked to, sensitivity 17 to 23 in that range. Anything higher than that, you're dealing with chatter. And, there are people that say, well, you can listen for the good signal in and amongst the chatter. I can't hunt that way.
That drives me insane.
It's like having your high beams on in the fog.
Exactly. So
there are some places, Andy, I take it up until I hear chatter and I'll back down 1, 2, 3 points somewhere there. It levels out and I'm happy with that. But most of the time, almost identical to what you're saying, I'm hitting 21, 22 and hunt with it. And I get phenomenal depth and response.
Yep. And
right.
It's a clean response. Anything higher, even that 2D graph you've got on the bottom, as the sensitivity gets too high, that becomes, you get ghosting. You get ghosting signals on the bottom. So you're no longer getting the true value of that 2D graph. The same thing with the Ferris limits. The preset Ferris limits, they're good starting points. And, if you go in without going into the customizing, and you can raise and lower them all the way across, I tend to go in and selectively, and the book covers how to do that, dial it in so that, certain Ferris targets I may want, but I want to reject square nails, let's say. So that's higher up, 40, 50 on the upper Ferris limits. So how do I get rid of that? The other thing is stabilizer. You know, people say, well, never use stabilizer. You're going to affect depth. You know, you lose depth, recovery speed. The thing with the stabilizer, there's a whole chapter on the stabilizer, and there's some examples of people that have provided input. It only activates on ferrous targets. So until you hit iron, it doesn't do anything. So, you know, if you're in the area where you've got ferrous targets, it's like the iron bias on the Equinox series.
Mm-hmm.
Without iron, the iron bias doesn't have, there's no reason that you need an iron bias setting. It doesn't matter where you set it. The same thing with the stabilizer. You know, the filter and stabilizer circuit, you know, what value you set it at, it does alter the response you get from iron. And it's clear once you played with it a little bit, what's iron, what's not. So it helps you if you're in an area like a burned down house, you know, where some structure used to be and there's a lot of iron in the ground. The stabilizer will definitely help you there. But again, you'll see a lot of people say never use stabilizer because it affects the depth on coins. It doesn't affect coins. So knowing what the functions are and how they work will allow you to look at some of these programs that people tell you to download and try and realize, hey, this will work for me or this won't work for me, and here's why. But the 10 standard programs that they come with, stick with the basics. Unless you want to tweak it, you know, those basic programs, by far, this is MindLab's biggest success in terms of how those 10 work. They pretty much covered the basis on those 10.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, and better understanding of your machine leads to you being more successful in the field.
That was a good explanation of that, Andy. And it's tough to try to explain that to people.
Well, you know, my wife's a good example. I mean, you know, she could use any machine she wants. And, you know, we go to Europe, she runs a Deus, you know, we'll probably be running a Manticore. But right now, most of her hunting, she's got a Nocta Simplex Plus, the original Simplex, with the elliptical coil.
Uh-huh.
The trashiest areas that, I mean, I don't hunt some of the areas that she does. She also hunts, like, for example, tot lots. With that elliptical coil, she can almost touch the playground equipment. For me, even with the 9-inch coil, I get within a foot or two. I can't hunt there. We were at a spot in New York seeing my brother a month and a half ago, and we went to a tot lot. And you know, my brother and me, we zipped through it and we found a couple coins. Mm-hmm. Well, she goes right next to the playground equipment and digs a 14-karat gold band with 3 diamonds in it.
Nice, good for her.
I couldn't get it.
Way to go, Charlene.
Yeah.
You know, so she's got a number of finds that she's made right next to metal chain link fences, things like that. But she knows that machine, and she's got a white MX5. You know, people say, well, that's an old machine. Well, it is, but let me show you the stuff she's found.
There's nothing wrong with an old machine. I still love the 800.
Yep. You know,
that little machine's killer.
When a new machine comes out, it's not like the old machine suddenly stopped working.
That's right.
The 800, I mean, people found tons of valuables. When the 900 came out, oh, you got to buy a 900. Well, what's wrong with the 800? Well, it's old.
I've recovered and returned more than $20,000 worth of items with the 800 before the 9 came out. When the 9 came out, why do I need a 9? The 8 ain't broke. Don't fix it.
To me, the 800 was what you were talking about earlier, a machine that came out that opened it back up almost like it hadn't been hunted.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
It really opened up areas again. I went back to places and I was astounded. And I thought I had them pretty well hunted over. And that little 800 sniffed out stuff. Crazy. And it's a good little gold machine, too, on its gold program.
Yeah, with the smaller coil, I mean, again, the 800 with the smaller coil, you know, people laugh, you know, I had a little coil. Why would I use a 6-inch coil? Well, let me tell you what you can find with a 6-inch coil, particularly in high trash or around sidewalks that have got rebars in it.
Yep.
And I've got a great scenario, too. Shortly after I got the Manticore, I get a number of calls for people losing jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
And a lady had lost it was a family heirloom 97-year-old infant's ring. And the first thing she did was put it on the new baby daughter's finger and went up by the lake to take pictures of the baby with the new ring that the family had handed down. And 15 minutes later, it was gone. So they contact me. I take the Manticore up there. I'm working with the 11-inch coil, but I'm looking for a target that when I realized, hey, it's not in this particular area. I don't think we need to spread out a little more, and I'm going to drop my sensitivity because it's right on top of the ground.
Right.
They had stepped on it when they were looking for it and had shoved it just down flush with the surface. And when I got the signal and actually finally found it, because you're moving that thing all around in the dirt, it's such a small target. When I got it in my hand, I honestly thought that it was the metal band of a ballpoint pen. And it was that little bitty infant's baby ring, silver and gold, just nuts. A 6 or an 8-inch coil, perfect for a scenario like that.
Yeah. My wife, we got a ring recovery call, and the guy was playing with his dog, and he thought he threw a stick in the water and lost it. It flew off in the water. So we went out there, and I'm getting suited up, ready to go out in the water, and she's hunting the grass out in front of where the pond was. Well, I hadn't even gotten in the water yet, and she found the same thing. It was stepped in. They'd stepped it down. It was flush with the ground, and she found it right there. But again, small coil.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it makes a world of difference.
Yes, it really
does. Anything else you want to add, Andy? Because I know we've probably had you on here a little longer than you had anticipated.
Good. I mean, if anybody else has any questions,
well, let's see if they've got any more. Give them a chance to do that. And I guess while we're waiting to see if you do have any more questions or any questions we may have missed, may want to go ahead and run off your websites again and let them know you guys do the tours too.
Yeah, I mean, SabischBooks.com. If you want to order a book, I mean, I know Charlene is keeping track of pre-orders. They'll go out as soon as we get them. They'll turn around priority mail, and I'm not going to make any guarantees with priority mail anymore because apparently even priority mail isn't a 2-day guarantee.
No.
Again, if anybody's interested in doing a boot camp, all-day event in Gettysburg, we're going to try to nail something down while the weather is still not white on the ground and the critters are not bothering us. As far as going overseas next year, I think we're going to try to do that as well. So again, if you've got any interest in going to the UK or elsewhere, I hate to say it, last year, we typically plan these a couple of years out. I was talking to a guy for the last few years, and we were looking at doing a World War II relic trip. Unfortunately, it was to the Ukraine. So obviously, I don't think anybody wants to join us on a trip to the Ukraine, particularly just outside of Kiev. So we'll find some other locations at that point.
Ohio relic.
Yeah.
Your preferred type of hunting is water, field, beach, or woods.
So Ohio Relic wants to know what kind of hunting I prefer. I pretty much do whatever I can. I mean, obviously relic hunting, I'm not going to do in the dead of summer. Even the guys I know that grew up in Mississippi, they steer out of the woods and steer out of relic hunting in the dead of summer. It's either research time or they go down to Biloxi and do some water hunting. I can't imagine these Civil War soldiers. Can you imagine wearing a wool uniform in July heat in Mississippi?
Nuh-uh.
A lot of these northern troops, can you imagine these northern troops that had never seen an alligator before? Or, you walk through the woods and you've got cottonmouths and rattlesnakes and copperheads. So, yeah, we stay clear of that. So in the summertime, I'm either water hunting, or this year was bad. I don't know how about you or Chuck or Josh. I mean, the weather has been. We haven't had rain in weeks,
Let's see there.
Oh yeah,
and
horrible.
the river is like super low.
Yep.
The backyard. I mean, my backyard. Thank God I got dogs. And they dig holes too. But my backyard looks like a bombing range. I don't. My neighbors have all said, "Hey, come over and hunt my yard." I'm like, nah, I can't. If I dig, I mean, I don't know how these people do these YouTube videos and digs, and they're out there with their leshy tools or digging shovels and not
Yep.
leaving dead plugs. I can't. So
They're
I'm
automatically dead. They were
Yeah.
dead to begin with.
Right.
so,
Yeah.
Emery asks, does recovery speed make a huge difference, or should I just leave it set? I have mine set at 3 right now on the Manticore.
The Manticore, I tend to run mine no higher than 5. So 3 to 5 is probably the sweet spot. If I get into an area, again, like I use my backyard as a test area for any of these machines that come through. I would rather slow my sweep speed down than increase the recovery speed. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So if you increase the recovery speed, what it does is it clips the audio because it's trying to reset the circuitry that much quicker.
Right.
I'd rather
It's a
get the
trade-off.
I'd rather get the full audio signal. And if you run it above 5, 7, it starts to clip it and it resets. You are losing some depth, but the audio, to me, most of my information is audio based on the Manticore. I'll check with the target ID and I'll check with the 2D graph. But I mean, I've got Indian head pennies that'll read 60 to 65, 70. So if I'm saying I've got to hit a 65 to get an Indian head, I just missed half of them. So, target ID is one thing, but the sound tells me a lot more about a target than the ID number does. So
exactly, audio wins out over BDI.
3 to 5 is where I would say. Anything above 5, the trade-off to me is not where I just slow my sweep speed down. The same thing with the 30-30. I used to, if I get in the high trash, you just slow the sweep speed down. It doesn't reset, but I'd rather slow it down. That way I'm getting the full benefit of what the machine can tell me.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Very well explained, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Andy,
and I think that should answer the question for Emery.
There you go.
And you were saying, Chuck?
5-tone, Andy, is that what you like to run?
It is, it's a throwback to the E-Track, and it's a throwback to the 30-30. I've got mine set up with breakpoints, for specific for coin hunting. I'll use one-tone the one-tone all regions if I'm relic hunting, because again, I don't, I can't come up with a specific target ID, but the book covers the various audio settings. But 5-tone is typically what I've got, and I've got it dialed in.
That's what I've been using most of the time, yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Nice.
you go to the full multi. I mean, to have each number give a different tone. I mean, I never did it with the 30-30. I don't have the ear for it. I mean, people can say, well, you can hear the difference between an Indian head and a copper, and I don't know. It's just too much noise. I want a definitive, I'm going to dig this because this is the way it sounds. I don't want to have to try to figure out which beep that was.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I had
as well.
Well, I'll tell you, how about, I don't know how many people we got on. How about if you want to come up with some way to, we'll give away two of the Manticore books. If you've got somebody that's either got a Manticore that wants to put my book to the test or is thinking about getting a Manticore, I'll be more than happy to get 2 of the people that are on the call tonight and on the show, and we'll send them a copy of the book if you want to find a way to pick and choose.
I'm sure we've got some people in there that they have a Manticore and they would love a chance at a book.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do something here, Josh, but it's not working on mine. So just to do a spin and see what come up on.
Well, when he figured, let's say when people see how many people have read some of my previous books. What year did I get involved in metal detecting? When did I get my first metal detector? Christmas of what year? The first two people that get it right get a book.
Well, that's a way to do it.
There
Yeah.
you go. Test them. And hopefully Charlene's still in the chat, keeping an eye on it too. She did a great job fielding questions from the chat tonight.
Yes, she did.
I'll tell you what. Let's change it. What?
You better change it because it's 200.
Yeah. What year did Mind Lab get started? When did Mind Lab start as a company? Not in the U.S., but when was Mind Lab started?
I almost said it. I didn't.
I will say I got started. My first metal detector was Christmas 1964. So that kind of dates me a little bit. So Ohio Relic Hunter got, let's see, what do we got dates? So let's see if we got a few dates here. That when did Mind Lab originally start the company? Well, we got two of them right there. So Ohio Relic Hunter and Helvin Naranjo. So if you guys can send me or send Josh your email, your mailing address, and we'll go ahead and get you a copy of the book later this week, beginning of next.
There you go.
Okay. So Ohio Relic Hunter, you know how to get a hold of me. Helvin, I don't know if you're on Facebook or not.
Looks like he's YouTube.
Is he in the U.S. or is he outside the U.S.? Should have stipulated that.
Yeah, maybe we should find out. With a name like that, I can't tell.
Okay, RH said if he won, give it to somebody with a Manticore. RH doesn't have a Manticore. How about, let's see, I see
Emery's got it.
So Emery has 1985.
Yep, that's when Mind Lab started.
Well, we'll give Ohio Relic Hunter's copy to Emery.
Okay.
Helvin, are you stateside?
He says thanks. He doesn't answer with what you asked.
But are you stateside? Yes, he says he is stateside.
Good, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
If you are not on Facebook, then you're going to have to email me your shipping name and address to beyondsightandsound@gmail.com. Okay, he says he's got an address, a shipping address in Florida.
All right, that'll work. So we'll go ahead and get 2 books out.
Yeah. So, Helvin, you'll have to email me at beyondsightandsound@gmail.com. All one string, all lowercase. Maybe Ohio Relic Hunter can put it in the chat there if it allows. I don't know. But hopefully that I've repeated that a few times, and I'll repeat it one more time rolling out too. And we will get that. We'll get that out to him. So, well, you'll just have to send me your address, Helvin.
Yeah, just forward it to me, and again, I'll get Josh. I'll get you and Chuck's book out as well. So.
Right.
Thank you.
So,
and I'll be talking with Charlene about getting some extras for the shop.
All right, that'll work.
All right, brother.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
well,
thank you very much, Andy. It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Always.
And, like I said, once we nail something down, if anybody's interested in doing a all-day training boot camp, and it's always a good time. It's conversational,
Yes,
instructional.
it is. You won't get a better training camp. I'll tell you that. I've been to them and they're great.
So if anybody's interested in going to Gettysburg, just stay in touch with us through our website, and we'd be happy to have you there. All right.
Oh yeah, that may be. Would it be easier for you to have Hellman contact you through your website?
Yeah, just have him go to sabischbooks.com. The email address is right there. He can just click in the form, fill it in, and we'll get him the book sent out.
Ah, well, see, there you go, Helvin. sabischbooks.com. Just click on that email, send him your shipping address, let him know you won on the Beyond Sight and Sound show.
Yep.
Webpage.
And
All
like I
right.
said, maybe we can get back on once we have any of the training classes nailed down for details. We can talk about that as well and get some feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Andy.
Andy,
And,
thank you, buddy.
All right. Bye now.
You and
Bye now.
Charlene have a wonderful evening.
Yeah,
too.
night, Char. All righty. And I'll get out of here too, and we'll wrap her up, my good friend.
All right.
All right. Everybody have a great week. Be safe.
All right. We'll see you, Chuck. Okay. So, Emery, I guess go ahead and message me your shipping information. That may work out easier, and I will get that on to Andy because I do believe, yeah, you got one of the copies. So message me your shipping information. And Helvin, welcome aboard. Go to sabischbooks.com. Contact Andy directly through the email address on that website. Give him your shipping address in Florida. And you also have won a copy of the new Manticore book. And obviously, I would think that this goes without saying, but that is once they come in and they're available. Right now, they're still in binding, and it's going to be a little bit yet, so there will be a little bit of a delay. But you both have won copies of the new Manticore book. So congratulations to both of you. And special thanks once again to both Andy and Charlene. Charlene did quite a good job fielding everything in the chat. That was nice. That made my job a little easier, so to speak. That was good, and good job on that ring find too. A couple of them there, Charlene. Very, very cool. So, Andy and the new Manticore book, some tips, some tricks, some good stories along the way. Always a pleasure to have Andy on. It's been far too long since we have had him on. It was high time to get him back on the show. We had been talking about it, and it just so happened the other day he messaged me out of the blue. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you on to talk about the new Manticore book. Let's do it. So, if you enjoyed the show, make sure and throw us a like. You can follow us here, Beyond Sight and Sound, on YouTube, Wednesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can follow us on the Beyond Sight and Sound Facebook page. If Facebook's your thing, you can follow us in the Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound Facebook group. You can follow us on the wonderful podcast distribution services, wherever you may join us from. Join us on one of them, all of them, or none of them, but we're glad you joined us here tonight. And don't forget, check out, that would be Wednesday's episode, where we covered the details for the Halloween costume contest and the prizes that you could win if you are chosen as a winner. And we also give out details there too for those of you that are not on Facebook, how you can get your entry in by emailing beyondsightandsound@gmail.com. No spacing. Other than that, it's been a pleasure talking with Andy. Good to see everyone in the chat. I think we're going to get on out of here too. Have a wonderful evening, folks. Stay safe. Get out there and try to find it if you can and post up the photos. You know how we love to see them. We'll catch you on the next one. We sure are glad you found us here tonight. Thanks for dropping by and joining in. If you like metal detecting, treasure hunting, gold prospecting, or even entertaining discussion, check us out Wednesdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern, on your favorite podcast distribution services.